We are going to make a LinkedIn ad. So in this one, I'm going to walk you through the steps of creating a LinkedIn ad. So first, I'm actually going to go into an advertising campaign. I'm going to go into ours. I'm going to go into a kind of a fake practice one. And right here, I'm going to click create. So let me back up. The first thing you do normally, if this is your ad campaign, you're not going to have a whole series of campaigns or accounts. You're just going to have yours. You would click on it, and at the beginning screen, you'd have all of your campaign groups. So it goes groups, and then you have campaigns within those groups, and then you have ads within those campaigns. So we're going to go up here and we're going to click create. And in this case, we're going to create a campaign. You could just create the group and then you just immediately after that create a campaign. So I'm going to create a campaign. It's going to ask which campaign group I want that in. So again, you could have just created that campaign group first, but I'm going to do this. And so the first thing that's going to ask me is for the objective. So for this one, we're going to make kind of like the initial cold ad. So I would go with either brand awareness for just sheer impressions and to get on people's radar, or with website visits is usually my go-to. So I'm going to click on that. Then you can come in here and you can select your geography. So normally it would be, United States, you can do Canada, you can pick any kind of country you want. You can even narrow it down to a city. Do we have actual just Canada? Oh, if I had spelled it right, then we absolutely would have Canada. So you could do Canada. Sometimes we'll do Australia and United Kingdoms, for example. You can also then pick the language. So if you were targeting foreign countries, you could target people in France who speak English, and however you want to do that. So you can also come in here and you can exclude location. So even though you do have these included, I guess this is an important point to point out, recent or permanent location. You can also just change it to permanent. That way it's not just people who have visited there, but it's actual permanent people that live there. So I would change that in most cases. The next thing you come down here and do is you're going to want to uncheck enable audience expansion, because that just allows the search group to go beyond what you have defined, which is not what you want. You're then going to choose your audience. So when you click narrow, this is where you get to choose your targeting. So I'm going to choose a super simple one. I'm going to go with companies. I'm going to pick industries, and I'm going to pick our main industries, which are marketing. I'm going to go with software. I'm going to go with IT, or I guess it's information technology services. And I'm going to go with financial service. So if you're not familiar with what they have and you're not just confident enough to be typing and searching, you can come in here, you can click on industries, and you can just walk through all the industries that they actually have. And some of these you'll click in, and then they'll have subcategories of each of these. I'm going to hit narrow again, and it creates an and filter. So it's saying that geography I have so far, plus these industries I have so far, plus whatever I put next. That's very important, because or means that it can be either these industries or this next criteria. What I'm building is a grouping of and. So all of these have to be true for someone to be in this search group. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do company, and I'm going to do company size, because this is probably the other most used filter. And we usually typically do 10 to 200. So then I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to hit narrow again to narrow it down. This time I'm going to do audience attribute. I'm going to do job experience, which takes me into the personal kind of demographics of the actual person. You can do seniority here, and I can say director level and above. So I'll just select director, CXO, partner, and then I'm going to hit narrow again, and I'm going to come back into job experience, and I'm going to put job functions. And so within that industry, those industries, those company sizes, I have director level and above. I now want to specify what departments or job functions within all of that I want to. So I keep narrowing it down here, and I'm just going to, this isn't going to be super detailed to ours, but I have business development, entrepreneurship, finance, IT, marketing, and operations. So I now have 2 million people, which actually seems pretty broad. And I want to make sure those, I guess, let me get rid of those. Even though this is just a fake group, I still have 1.5 million. So this is a handful of industries, 11 to 200, director level and above. I guess it's because I'm probably going with job seniorities and functions, so that broadens it up. To narrow it down even more, I can come in here and I can go by interests and traits. So usually I'll do member interests and member interest, product interests. And I'll find stuff like marketing automation, affiliate marketing, B2B marketing, chatbots and marketing, direct marketing. So I'll take some of those and I'll size it down even more. So now we're at 700,000. So this is a fake group, but for some reason I still cared enough to boil it down. So that was weird. Typically, I think most experts are telling you that you can have small bite-sized chunks of like 50 to 150,000, or if you want to lump more of them together and you have ways to look at that data, 1,000 or 150,000 to 300,000 is usually a decent chunk. This would be on the big end, 700,000. So I would say look for ways to narrow that down. Like you could come in and just target a couple of those industries on this campaign and have the graphics and text a little more specific to that group. So the next thing we're going to do is choose ad format. I'm going to go with single image ad because that is the most used one in most campaigns, and ours included. I am going to deselect the audience network because that would mean showing my ads outside of LinkedIn. And for this initial campaign that I'm showing you, I just want it to show on LinkedIn. So I'll deselect that. It was selected by default. I have single image ad selected. I'm going to change the budget. Let's imagine we're spending $1,000 a month. So you would just take $1,000 divided by 30 or 31 days, and you would get a nice daily budget. I would move on. I'm going to let it run continuously. I'm going to, for very basic starters, I'm going to let it do automatic bidding, maximum delivery. And yes, the experts will tell you that manual bidding is the way. You should start low and you should slowly walk it up until it spends the full daily amount in order to find that secret sauce of a manual bid. And they're right. That will save you some money, but it'll also cost you some time. So if you're just looking to get started, you are not going to lose your house by starting with automated delivery. It is easier. Then, if you already have completed the steps to set up your conversion tracking, you'll simply want to make sure that all the conversions you've set up are selected here so that they are tracked on this campaign. And then you will hit next. It will save. You'll be locked into that kind of format. We are going to create new ad. And just for the purpose of this video, I am going to take a screenshot here so that we have a nice image to run as an ad. I'm going to create new ad, and then here are the elements of the ad. So we have name this ad, which is optional. We have introductory text, and it's important to know that you only get about 150 characters, I think, on mobile, and then the rest of the characters would only be visible on desktop if they click to read more. I'm going to set up a destination URL. And yes, you would want to use a UTM for this, but for this beginner 101 basics, just know that this is where you want the traffic to go when they click your ad. UTM is just something extra you put at the end of this URL that would allow analytics to know, like Google Analytics to know where that click came from. Each click from all these different sources that you're sending traffic to your website, you could put unique little codes on there so that you know where all the clicks came from and what they did afterwards. Next, we're going to upload the image. And I'm just going to do that screenshot. Next is going to be a headline. We're going to update our price here. and the description. So the description you don't need to worry about in this initial one because, oh man, that's a terrible photo of me, right? It's not the worst thing in the world. The description is only visible if you do use the LinkedIn Audience Network. So if it expands beyond LinkedIn, then it would show up on like almost like as a display ad, and that would use that description and your headline, I believe. And so if I'm just running this on LinkedIn and this is my cold ad, I don't need to worry about a description. So the next thing is I select a call to action. For I think the most used for this kind of ad where it's running traffic to website is learn more. And if you look over here, this is what the ad would look like. So I have that image, super cool image. You have your intro text here. And I guess if I fleshed this out more, you would probably see that it would get filled in and have the see more. So it'll show you a small amount of text, and then they'd have to click see more to see the rest of it. You'd have your image, you'd have this headline here, and then you'd have your call to action. And if they clicked the call to action, it would send them to your destination URL. So I am going to create, and that is the ad. And then I can show in feed if I want to see kind of how that would look. And this is how the ad would look in the feed. And that is how you create a LinkedIn ad.